Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking one of the most, honestly, just totally mind-blowing economic transformations in modern history. We're looking at the Marwaris. They're this incredibly resilient community from the harsh, dry deserts of Rajasthan. And what's really wild here is how they went from facing absolutely devastating famines to becoming an undisputed economic powerhouse in India. Like, they played a foundational role in the country's post-independence growth. So how exactly did they pull this off? Let's get right into it. Let's start with the big mystery. How does a regional group, one that was literally forced out of its homeland by severe drought and starvation, build an empire so massive that it literally shapes the economy of one of the biggest nations on Earth?
Well, take a look at this number, 6.5%. That is the staggering estimated share of India's entire GDP controlled by the Marwari community today. I mean, to put that into perspective for you, corporate titans from this specific group are constantly, and I mean consistently, dominating the top 10 richest lists in India. We're talking about families owning major institutions across banking, textiles, steel, real estate. They're quite literally the backbone of the nation's industry.
So for today's explainer, here's our agenda. We'll start with India's richest community, then explore the famine and the Great Migration, dive into the Marwari business playbook, reveal their secrets to wealth management, and finally wrap up with culture, unity, and philanthropy. All right, Section 1, India's richest community. Owners, not employees. The core philosophy here is that Marwaris are historically driven to be business owners and massive wealth creators. You are very rarely going to find them settling for a standard 9-to-5 job just working for someone else. Just look at the landscape today. Massive conglomerates are led by Marwari families. You know, the Birlas, the Jindals, the Singhanias. If you peek at India's top 10 richest list right now, you'll see Kumar Mangalam Birla at number 6 and Radhakishan Damani at number 9. They're the ultimate decision makers. They've proven absolute dominance across almost every major sector you can think of. Traditional textiles, diamond jewelry, massive steel plants, and huge banking institutions. It's really something else. Okay, moving to Section 2, Famine and the Great Migration, the historical catalyst. Let's actually look at how this phenomenal success was born out of a pretty devastating tragedy. To really get this, we've got to jump back into their timeline. Way back in the 1200s, the Marwaris were already these highly successful early traders. They mapped out these huge trade routes from their home in the Marwar region of Rajasthan all the way to places like Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh, trading with Parsis, Gujaratis, and Jewish merchants. But then, in the 1800s, this brutal, totally unforgiving famine struck the Marwar region. The local king of Jodhpur tried desperately to provide food and water for everyone, but the drought just dragged on for years. And despite his best efforts, there were a lot of tragic deaths. This absolute devastation became a huge, monumental turning point for the survivors. So here's the crucial part. To survive this famine, the community came together and made what was essentially a set of unbreakable vows. They realized, hey, a lack of money and resources is our absolute greatest vulnerability right now. So they made a pact. The men had to migrate outward to find work and eventually start independent businesses. But here is the real genius of it. They swore never to compete with another Marwari in the exact same local area. And if someone learned a new trade, they had to teach those business skills to the rest of the community. Plus, no matter how far they traveled, whether they migrated to Gujarat, Maharashtra, or Tamil Nadu, they promised to return to their hometown at least once a year. This survival pact was the spark for the Great Migration, and it basically laid down the ultimate foundation for their massive future network. Which brings us to Section 3, the Marwari Business Playbook, Secrets to Retail and Risk. Once they set up shop in these new states, they rolled out a highly specific framework that, honestly, practically guaranteed market dominance. What's super interesting here is how they approached sales. Instead of trying to get massive margins on just a single item, like standard retailers usually do, they unlocked the sheer power of volume. Okay, let's imagine it costs 3,000 rupees to make an item. A normal retailer might try to sell one unit for 5,000 rupees, right? Try to make a quick 2,000 rupee profit. But the Marwari method? They'll mark it up to just 3,500 rupees. That's a tiny 500 rupee profit. But, and this is key, they'll sell it in bulk wholesale orders of, say, 500 to 1,000 units to other merchants. This strategy of high-volume, low-margin bulk selling generated vastly superior wealth over time. It literally allowed them to corner entire markets. Another major strategy is what we can call the family monopoly. Instead of scattering their efforts, one brother in tech, another doing food, an uncle in real estate, an entire extended Marwari family might focus solely on a single sector, like exclusively the textile or jewelry industry. Everyone in the family works in that one specific space. And what happens is this creates an impenetrable wall of expertise, shared resources, and absolute market control that outsiders just can't break through. This all brilliantly illustrates their core financial mindset. Turn 10 rupees into 20 rupees. They are fundamentally taught not to just spend what they earn, but to multiply it. And this mindset of infinite growth and calculated risk-taking, it's actually taught to their kids from a really, really young age. Kids learn exactly how businesses make profits and, maybe more importantly, how to handle sudden losses. This guarantees the next generation is fully equipped to take over the empire without missing a beat. Let's look at Section 4, Secrets to Wealth Management, the Rule of Three. Because making the money is only half the story, right? It's how they manage, protect, and distribute this wealth that truly sets them apart. So here is their fundamental formula for wealth management. Step 1. Save 50% of all income. Now, despite having millions or literally billions of rupees, Marwaris are famous for living incredibly simple, frugal lives. They blend in perfectly with everyday people. They are not out there flashing their wealth. Instead, they strictly save half of what they make. Step 2, they aggressively reinvest those savings right back into expanding their businesses. And Step 3, they secure their legacy through land and real estate. This builds multiple streams of income so they are never ever relying on just one single business. The scale of their long-term thinking here is frankly just awe-inspiring. By constantly buying land and building houses or shops to rent out, they are establishing revenue streams designed specifically to protect their descendants. They literally design their businesses and their property portfolios with the goal of surviving for at least 10 generations. Think about that. It's not about getting rich quick, it's about staying rich forever. Now for Section 5, Culture, Unity, and Philanthropy. More than just money. Because beyond all their financial tactics, the true glue holding this entire empire together is their unshakable cultural identity. Now, you might naturally assume that a community this incredibly tight-knit shares exactly the same religion, right? Well, actually, 83% are Hindu, 10% are Jain, 5% are Muslim, and 2% are Christian. This is huge because it shows us that Marwari isn't a single religion at all. It's a powerful regional and cultural identity, bound together by that shared history of surviving the famines in the Marwar region of Rajasthan. Religion doesn't divide them, their shared heritage unites them. Even as they migrated and completely assimilated into the local languages and cultures of places like Chennai, Mumbai, or Ahmedabad, they fiercely protected their inner cultural pillars. They still speak the Marwari language at home, they maintain massive joint family systems where everyone lives and works together, they generally marry strictly within the community, often rocking traditional attire like the turban and kurta during ceremonies. But honestly, the most powerful pillar is their ultimate safety net. They offer unconditional financial and strategic support to any Marwari who fails in business. They share their absolute deepest trade secrets with each other, secrets they strictly hide from outsiders, which ensures that if one of them falls, the entire community is there to lift them right back up. But they definitely don't just keep all this wealth to themselves. Ultimately, the Marwaris view their financial success as a tool for national development. All across India, they've stepped up to build vital infrastructure, funding major educational institutions and massive state-of-the-art hospitals. And whenever natural disasters strike, whether it's floods, severe droughts, or earthquakes, the Marwari community is famous for just opening their checkbooks and providing massive financial relief to the public. They also heavily fund temples and spiritual centers, giving back to the country that gave them the space to grow. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to think about the incredible journey we've just unpacked. Their transformation from desperate famine survivors to undisputed financial titans proves that true, lasting wealth, it isn't just about making a quick buck. It's built on the solid bedrock of community unity, disciplined frugality, and an unshakable multi-generational vision. So my question for you is, which of these Marwari principles are you going to apply to build your own legacy? Keep learning, keep building, and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.